Hello and welcome back to the greatest rugby show in the world. The only true analysis that you ever need. I'm joined by not just one, but two wonderful guests in Finn Morton and Joe Harvey. Welcome back, Finn, but also for the first time, welcome, Joe. How's it going, guys?
Good. It's a bit crowded in this chat room, guys. Joe's here now. Don't know how I feel about that, but good to have Joe here. We just did that during the week. He had to legally change his name to Finn now. That's a work in progress, but greatest rugby show in the world. Joe, thoughts? Like that's we've only done 3 podcasts before this, mate. That's a bit of a leap.
I mean, I think there's levels to this game, aren't there? And also just to like sort of keep in with this analysis element, I think I'm going to go to 3 ends. I don't know what you guys think about that. I think, I'll be staying on this 3 ends, and then, the next person that Thursday comes on, their 4 ends and so on. And then, maybe that's just the podcast. Maybe that's what we should, call it just the end podcast.
It is. It's a true evolution. Oh my God, I could go so wrong. The end podcast.
You'd hate to be like the 8th guy rocking up doing the pod, but that's okay. Mostly my nudge and that pod. Yeah, exactly. But tell you what, guys, good to be back talking some code. Hibernated for about a month, Finlay, because he's trotting around Georgia and stuff. So yeah, but good to be back on.
I'm absolutely loving life. I'm just enjoying that there is not as much rugby going on, and we can just concentrate on 2 of the biggest teams in the world right now. Going off against it and the true build-up. I'm just getting more and more excited. But before, Joe, a little introduction about yourself. Like people from the pod might not know who you are.
So I'm Joe, and so I've been a rugby journalist for about 8 years now. That seems about right. Horrifying that my adulthood has nearly vanished already, it feels like. And that's been my entire life. I'm currently the women's rugby editor for Rugby Pass, so colleagues with each of you guys in day-to-day life. And yeah, really excited to be here, and hopefully not make too much of a fool of myself. Although 2 minutes in, I've probably done it 5 times.
I mean, don't worry, if anybody's going to be making a fool of themselves, it's probably me. So let's get into it. If there's anybody that's a bit more experienced, ready to talk about this, Finn Morton, what's going on in the South right now? What's the big talking points of the week?
Yeah, go. Yeah, look, to be honest, mate, you hit the nail on the head talking about, the 2 biggest teams in world rugby at the moment going head to head. It's the reason I'm in Townsville to watch the Wallabies play Japan. I can tell you what, the anticipation here in the city is huge. Like they can't wait to watch the men in gold run out. First kiss game on home soil. I can't wait, guys. That's what we're talking about, right? It's we're all about the Wallabies. They won 2 in a row. They might never lose again. But it's
Les Kiss keeping his 100% record going for sure just now.
only just. Well, I tell you what, that game last weekend against Japan. If rugby was an 85-minute sport, Japan win that. I think there was something about that where Taniela Drupo scored with 10 to go. I think gave the Wallabies a 10-point lead after the conversion, and you're kind of going, okay, they should be good here. But if you're a Wallabies fan, you're smarter than that. You're smarter. You've seen that story before. It's the hope that kills you. And Warner Doon scored with 3 to go, and yeah, so nearly wet South. But obviously, I'm not going to say the bigger talking point, lads, but rugby's greatest rivalry moment of the week, Marnoning, this morning, my time, Tuesday evening in Durban, doing the haka against the All Blacks. Every time I watch that back, I nearly cry. I think that is just so cool.
I think it was just a absolutely magical moment that he's came into the Sharks. He's not even actually like a player on a technicality. They don't think of him regularly playing for the Sharks next season, week in, week out. But I think just the stars aligned and the moment was just there, presented to itself. And it was like, thank God for the Sharks coaches has just been thinking, do you know what? It'd be rude not to. be rude not to give him a wee run out, despite the score, and just let him have that moment. Faces old countrymen in the moment, and what a moment it was.
Even how he you kind of saw him wipe his eyes. Sorry, Joe, but you kind of saw him wipe his eyes. He's walking off, and I'm not going to speculate on whether he was crying or not, but like clearly there's a lot of emotion there, and like to be there in a stadium and to do a haka solo. I know it's he's done that 103 times before in the black jersey, but still, that's pretty huge. Anyway, Joe, that's your thoughts, mate. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it was raining as well, so like, we don't know what he was wiping from his eyes, but I'm pretty certain it probably would have been a slight tear, because it's no exaggeration to say that the fact that he did facing his old teammates, his countrymen, lads that idolised him growing up, and the pictures that come out, we see them all the time. It's like, oh, so and so met him 10 years ago, 11 years ago, and obviously when 11 years ago, Marwan was 33, no one necessarily anticipated that he's still playing at this point, and it's no exaggeration to say potentially that was the highlight of the Sharks' evening, is the real reality to it all. But it was probably one of the most captivating images that I've seen at a rugby match for quite a while, if I'm being really honest.
There's I have a story from when I was about 12 or something, living in Brisbane, and I got into a Reds game, and I can't remember who he was playing for at the time, but I asked for a photo or something, or a signature. I went, "Ma, signature." And he looked at me, and he waited for me to say please. I didn't, and he walked off, taught me a lesson. And I told him that a few years ago when we're in LA. Finlay was my cameraman.
Yeah, I did.
And we got the chance to meet Mara and interview him. And I got the heads up 5 minutes before the interview. I got a text from one of our colleagues saying, "Hey, Sam, do you want to interview Mara Nono in 5 minutes about sevens?" And initially I was like, hang on. And he obviously did play sevens way back when, but still, like, he was a cool dude. He'd like ripped his shorts. It was really bizarre, actually. It was a bit of a in LA. Yeah, like he kind of messed up ripping his jeans, and I don't quite know the story behind that, but still, I told him at the time that he didn't give me an autograph, and I said thank you. He taught me a lesson, and then I asked him again. I said, "Can I have a photo now, please?" And professionally, I got a photo of them. So,
cool. I will recall that moment, because like we were there, and honestly, I will say I don't really get struck by many rugby players, but him being there, and I will take credit for this. Actually, I initiated us getting pictures first, because I was just like, I was genuinely a bit like trying to catch my words. I was a bit worried. I was like, oh my God, I just don't want to mess this up and everything. And I was just like, I usually don't get photos from rugby players, but you're just a legend, man. I literally was just like, can I have a picture? Right?
Please.
We got Anton Dupont down there playing rugby, and I'm like, nah, I want a picture with man on it. Like, I would say he's my favorite All Black, especially with longevity and everything. He is like up there as the best. I don't know how he goes down in the history books as the best ever All Blacks, but I think you've got to give credit for his longevity. Almost made it to 4 World Cups if he didn't get cut out from the 2007. I can't remember if that was injury or he just didn't get picked, but would have been generational, because nobody's ever done it before, have they? 4 World Cups.
I think people have now. He'd be quite sure that people have now.
I'm trying to think who.
Put me on the spot.
It's Sean Fitzpatrick. I mean,
No.
Maybe. I don't know. There's something you should have said before the pod, mate.
We're going to put the Rugby Journal to be stumped up that.
No, but I think I do think it's fascinating that no one seems to talk about Marlon in the GOAT debate. Or at least he's incredibly underrated in that regard, because longevity. We see that with LeBron James in the NBA, right? Like, one of the main strengths to his GOAT status in the eyes of the community is the fact that he's been doing it for so long. Not only has won 2 World Cups, which no one in men's rugby has won 3. He played 103 games for the All Blacks. He's played obviously in New Zealand with multiple clubs, like Hurricanes, Blues, Highlanders, oldest player ever to play in the top 14. Is a pioneer of MLR rugby, as Joe, you would know. Having gone to San Diego when it was not a big comp then. I don't know if MLR would have been what it became and is now if it wasn't for Marnoni playing for San Diego. And he's just played for the Sharks against the All Blacks. Like, sorry, like who else has a CV like that in rugby? You tell me. I mean,
I will
there's
say,
absolutely no. I mean, no, because I was going to say, like, I think, Bush is probably the leading example. But, like, the thing is with Nonu as well, like, when he went to MLR, it's kind of the thing that was the same with MLS many, many years ago at this point, is that when he went to MLR, people said, that's it. He's in the retirement home, he's over the hill, blah, blah, blah. And then he went back to Toulon not once, but twice in that time, and then still run over Ruben Love yesterday. Like, that speaks volumes just about the talent that he has. Yeah, he's probably a little bit slower and he probably feels things a little bit more each morning after a match, but he's still got it. He's still got that inkling of talent and magic. So it just sets him aside as kind of one of the best to ever, line up in the midfield.
I think you should have got man of the match at that 2015 World Cup final. I was just watching it back, and some of his highlights from that, scoring a try, breaking the line so many times, try saving tackles as well. This is just going to turn into another Dan Carter hate train because Dan Carter got the man of the match instead. But man, he's just absolutely amazing. Like I put him in my top three easily of all time. Like currently I think that's just on a personal rugby preference. I think your greatest rugby players are the ones that are actually running into the defense and making the big hits and stuff. And God, he was one of the best to do it.
So who are you going with? Are you going Nono at 3, Jonah at 2, Finn Russell at 1, or what's the order?
Finn Russell needs to win a title for us to get into my top 3, sadly. Any Scottish player needs to win a title to make it into the top rankings. I will say that, and that's me actually speaking with some brains for a second. Calcutta Cups don't count. And but
Like that, Matt.
just how dare you? It's sort of I think when you look back at the top nations like your South Africas and your New Zealands, you just can't beat them, with the trophies that they've won as well. What is there? Excuse me for my silly mind. Is there an official trophy that is being played for here? Or is it just the greatest rivalry?
I presume they're playing for the Freedom Cup.
Freedom Cup, that's it. I forgot the name.
It should be right. I don't think there's a new trophy for the greatest rivalry. If there is, and I haven't been doing my job well. But
Freedom. I think it is the Freedom Cup. Yeah,
Freedom Cup. So, but interestingly, obviously they're playing 4 tests this year. So I don't know if they're just counting the 3 in South Africa for that. But yeah. Look, bad news for South Africans. I will say, like Springboks fans. So the All Blacks have lost 5 of their last 6. The Springboks, I think, something like that, right? And I was at 4 of those. And I'm not going to be in South Africa this time, guys. I just I couldn't hack it. I need some time at home. But those 4 games I went to. All right, let's just go through it quickly. Springboks, All Blacks, Twickenham. Record loss for the All Blacks at the time. I mean, the World Cup final. The All Blacks lose by 1 point. And then the 2 games in South Africa in 2024, where the All Blacks, for the first time in ages, lost the Freedom Cup. So I did have one person on Twitter at one point tagging the Springboks saying, at Springboks Rugby, fly this guy to every All Black Springboks game. They haven't done that this time. There is still time, guys. There is still time. I am available. My passport's just over there. I'm good to go. But as of right now, not going to be there. So All Black series sweep. Here we go.
Easy. As you say, they're certainly warming up into it quite well after a very sound win against the Sharks. And you could say they're not even going full tilt into it yet. I mean, that's my point. It's I think this tour for the All Blacks especially is just trying to right a lot of wrongs they've had previously. The Scott Robertson era probably has not been a true reflection of what the All Blacks truly are. And I was looking into, obviously, what you've been saying with South Africa being the dominant of their past 5 appearances, winning 4 against 1. Always, apart from the last one that they had at Wellington, it's always been a close game, and I'm sure there's going to be lots more tries and still a close score. But
I mean,
what do All Blacks need to do to really show up and be able to take on this mighty Springbok squad right now?
I think, yeah, I mean, the All Blacks, they're a team that are building under Dave Rennie. I think we saw that in July. They're a team that's not kicking much. They kicked a lot against the Sharks, I think a season high, but they're playing running rugby, so that's cool. They've just got to play their DNA and trust their players, their form players. You know, you're seeing Ruben Love quite good again this morning, leading hooker as well, so it's a pretty big moment for him. I think that reflects the standing he has within the All Blacks now. And keep in mind, you know, Finlay, you're saying that about the All Blacks. They lost 7 games over 2 years under Scott Robertson. In the eyes of many, that's not a bad lose rate when you play 14 tests a year. But the All Blacks, that's unfathomable, isn't it? You know, you can't comprehend that if you're an All Blacks fan, especially when throughout the 2010s, I think from 2011 to 2015, they lost 3 games, something like that. So this is a fan base that's very used to winning, but at the same time, well, maybe they lost some of their aura a bit last year or something. Like they are very much building in the right direction though under Dave Rennie. And Joe, don't know if you've got thoughts here, mate, but these tour games important to keep building, but I think they're going to be raring to go by this Test series.
Yeah, I think they absolutely will. And they had the good fortune that the Springboks don't necessarily have, is that they're going to just sort of like get through the squad. Everyone's going to get match minutes, and they're kind of going to be, a lot of people are going to kind of be at optimum levels heading into the Test series, and it's going to make selection a lot harder. I think it's the classic thing, isn't it? We just talked about that sticking to DNA. It's like, how do you take on a Springbok team that has so consistently for, you know, since 2019, maybe a little bit before 2019 as well, that have managed to sustain such a high level of competition within the squad, but then not only that, they've managed to stick to their DNA, which has been absolutely battering people up front and then unleashing the backs, which they've been able to do, and also rotate through players and get through cycles in a really different way to other people. I think it speaks to something that I believe we have penned out, guys. This is all, people don't know this is all organised. Is that we're going to talk a little bit about sort of the 2 eras of All Blacks and Springboks, particularly looking at All Blacks era between 2011 2015 when they won the 2 World Cups on the bounce, and then looking at 2019 to present with the Springboks. I'm going to go out on a limb and we can start the conversation on this. I think the current Springbok era of dominance, particularly as we are, just a couple of years out, well, just over a year out from the World Cup, to me, this Springbok era of dominance is better than that of the All Blacks. And Finn Moulton, the man from Greenock, is very unhappy with me.
Yeah, Joe, look, it's been nice having you on the show. We appreciate your time. Apparently you've got to go. So that's Joe. And oh, he's actually weird. Look, I don't know if are we diving into this now, or is this a bit later tonight? What's the run sheet? You're in charge.
I think we can pretty much delve into it, unless there's anything on the current teams that you want to talk about.
Okay. Well, okay. I just want to straight off the bat challenge Joe Harvey and say, Joe, I respect you as a man, as a journo, as a rugby brainer. That's a terrible thing. No, it's not a terrible thing. Look, the Springboks, what they've done is near unprecedented, but the All Blacks did it first. And I think the All Blacks did it at a time when they just looked at unbeatable. And you could say the Springboks do as well, to a degree. But I think they lose at least 2 games during this Test series against the All Blacks. For them to be considered the greatest team in an era of rugby, I think if they can win a 3rd World Cup back to back, fair play. But their lack of success in between World Cups till recently has to be a factor. They weren't winning rugby championships consistently. They didn't win the Freedom Cup back until 2024. whereas the All Blacks in the 2010s were winning everything. I mean, it's true, getting it done, and they had all-time greats leading them. That's not to say there aren't all-time greats in the Springboks. Peter Steptoe, I think, is a top 5 player all time. Ebenet's the best, top 10. But that All Blacks team, the 2010s, different grading there, different gravy.
Yeah, I think you're talking a bit more like what we've been previously saying is that it's South African rugby is a machine right now. They're functioning at such a high level across all boards. And sometimes, I think like with the rugby championship, sometimes there's things and there's moments that you park in the corner because I don't know if it's just a comment on Sanzar and everything. It doesn't feel like a competition that is valued as highly as things like Six Nations. Like us Northern teams will try and win that above anything else. We won't care about our summer and autumn tours if there's a chance to win the Six Nations kind of thing. Whereas South Africa, New Zealand will not put as much pressure on themselves. They'll happily take a wee loss to Argentina here and there in the Rugby Championships grand scheme. The South Africa team just doesn't. I think after do you know what? This is bad on me. After watching Scotland, seeing them open up South Africa in certain ways where you're like, the offload game and the running game does open up South Africa in ways that they don't want to get opened up. And New Zealand can essentially just do that better. So I think there's still a really strong chance. But if you're going man for man right now, especially in that forward pack, that South Africa are just so dominant. And I could just see there being a repeat of the World Cup final where you have a Steph Toy who will just go in and batter some of your lads until there's no tomorrow. And then you're just not able to get over that line, especially with New Zealand's win record on South African soil is just not great. 46.3% to my knowledge. It's not a stat. It's a stat you want to change right now, but it's not a stat that you currently are holding. I think it might end up being let's say off the top of my head, I do think it's going to be a 2-2. I think All Blacks will get one win in Cape Town, but they'll lose the other two at what's the stadium's called again? Ellison and the ANB. Then All Blacks will win in Baltimore, which will also be an exciting game. Great to showcase the best game in a rugby calendar to the Americans, show them what true contact sport actually looks like, and show what they can be like, what they can reach up to if they want to be the best. If you want to be the best, you got to play like this kind of thing, instead of doing whatever USA Rugby is doing right now. But I think it's going to be a 2-2. I think just that home advantage right now is strong, and I don't know. I think the physicality will beat the running game in this series.
Well, I think there's only one way to settle this, guys. If I read out, so I've used my friend ChatGPT, who I talk to a bit too much, to come up with best of things from the All Blacks of that era and so for the Springboks of their era of dominance. Again, I did not pick these 15s. This is what chat's gone over of who started in these positions most often. So I read out one player from each team, for each position, and then put it to a vote, lads. Let's see who wins. So should we start up front? Tony Woodcock.
Let's go.
Yes, Stephen Kitsoff. I
just be recency bias, but Kitsoff is insane. Sadly retired a bit too young for a prop, but I'm gonna put my vote to Kitsoff.
Woodcock, 2011 World Cup final, scored the try.
Gonna be the decider now.
He's an All Blacks hero.
That's so hard. I mean, the rest of this is going to be, but this is really rough. I mean, I mean, I mean, I'm going to go Kitsov just for the sustained, like up until the injury, he was the number one loose head prop in the world, and like it wasn't even a debate.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Let me down against we have. Okay.
Does Woodcock get Instagram pages named after himself? That's all I'm saying.
It's true. I mean, Woodcock was very good for the All Blacks, but I think his consistency at Super Rugby level was, I don't know if that's a factor here, but that's all. To be fair, I'll give you that. That's all good. All right, Boldy or Kevin Mialaman?
Mialaman
Has to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like
Thank you. So it's
But can I do just as an addendum to that? Obviously, this is the players that have started the most. This is before we bring up Malcolm Marks, well over the year stint as well.
that's actually a very good point. That's a very good point. Giving me a lot.
I think Malcolm Marks has maybe got to finish his career before we can truly, well, we can still enjoy it right now. We can still really give it its credit. But I think he's in this moment that hopefully he can get to the 23 World Cup, 27 World Cup. But he missed the 23 World Cup. He was injured. So he's been harmed quite a bit. You just want to see him get a couple more caps for Springboks, and hopefully he can finish his career on a high. And then we can look back on his career and be like, okay, he was one of the best. But I think just a couple injuries is hampering him down as being that one of those number one spots there.
He's a two-time World Cup winner, and he's been named World Rugby Player of the Year. So I actually don't know how we could look past it. As good as Mialamu was, and he's an All Blacks, great. But Malcolm Marks is a Springboks, great. But he's, at the moment, he's really kind of honing that impact role, right? So, but I still think we have to go Marks.
Put Marks in?
I'll go with the guys. So shout. Just
Owen Franks or Franz Malhadi.
That was bloody good. I also remember Franz Malharbour in that 2015 squad, which that South African squad was just a bit all over the place.
Franks. Who is this Frank? Balance Franks.
Yeah.
Franks?
If you're talking about consistency at the top, Franks would definitely be up there.
Okay, that's right.
Over Malharbour.
That was so nearly a 3-0 Springboks front row sweep. I think there was definitely a case for that. This one's not going to get much easier. Two players who, you call them fringe players if you want. Ebenezer up against Brendan Brutalis.
Oh, I think that is actually the toughest. I think this is the worst game we've ever played.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I think it's right. I'm rash.
Oh,
Really hard. Or we can make it past here, and we can have the boat. Can we have a little bit? I need 2 days, so. And because the other options are Luke De Jager and Sam Whitelock. Whitelock, who was the most capital Black of all time.
So I want to have Whitelock in it.
I want to have Whitelock.
I think it's Retallick and Elizabeth.
It was, yeah, I'll take Retallick. I like to agree with that.
Retallick is
I need Etzebeth in there. I need Etzebeth in there because he is just the true enforcer. You know, like he actually commands the pitch. It's great on the line out. And yeah, wouldn't want to pass up him for Brodie Retallick. So I'd agree with that.
Retallick is a World Rugby Player of the Year as well. From memory, something like 2014. You guys remember that he dummied someone for some reason against Australia? Yeah, I'm thinking. Yeah, it was. I remember watching the game. I remember watching. Yeah, and like absolutely. And Retallick, to be fair, seems to be playing really good code over in Japan still. Like, if you're someone like him, would you sign a 9-month deal with New Zealand Rugby? Play the World Cup next year.
Yeah, why not?
It's you're thinking good. Why not?
Yeah.
Guys, okay, in the South African spring row, in the Springboks back row, obviously we're going off positions, not numbers on the back row. So Heath Steph Toy is the blindside flanker. Lads, he's against Jerome Kiner.
You stuff to toy.
Yeah, it's Peter Steptoe. I love Katie. I love him so much. I genuinely put him like up there with Kieran Reid and everything, and the call. I think he's very underrated when people talk about that great back row and stuff. He's just as good as both of them, but Steph Toy can't pass up on him right now.
And battle of the captains at open side, it's Richie McCaw against Sia Khaleesi. I mean,
Richie.
and McCaw, I think, right? Yeah, what's that? One of the greats of all time.
So yeah, one of the greatest captains of all time, but I think many would agree that he's not the best rugby player of all time.
I very much disagree with that, but let's not argue on this podcast for that. Let's keep this several. They keep this. Sia. I'm arguing, and I'll be here forever. I thought you were talking about Richie. Sorry. I was like, oh, no.
Sia is the greatest captain, but as a general player, like I wouldn't even be surprised if he doesn't make that many minutes to get in this greatest rivalry. Like, I think they're trying to find something that can slowly just push him out, that he's maybe still there, give him the flowers for the amazing things he's done, but also like bring in the next whoever. Like, I still truly don't know who their future captain is going to be in and out in the 27. It still changes about every so often, but I don't really see a.
Could it be Sasha? I think that'd be interesting. A fly half as your skipper. That's pretty rare in rugby. Number 8, Dwayne Vermeulen against Kieran Reid. I mean, Kieran Reid, another World Rugby Player of the Year, 2015.
We were talking about Vermeulen on a previous pod and giving him his flowers, and do you know what? I think just his actual size and everything, I got to put Vermeulen. He's a beast. He's an absolute animal.
I think you're forgetting just how good Kieran Reid was.
I mean, 2017 Lions, it was Kieran Reid in that series.
He was near untouchable. I don't know. He was unreal.
Yet again, Joe, I think you're the deciding vote.
Kieran Reid.
I like you, Joe. Always have that. No, I'm kidding. I'm just trying to back up my point from before about the All Blacks. But I am being impartial. Reid on his day, unreal for club and country. But that Vermeulen, to be fair, that's another really tough one. Now, that's the backs. That's the forwards. In the backs, I'm going to kind of preview this just by saying I think this could be very All Blacks heavy. Genuinely.
You think?
I think the Springboks forwards across the board are better, but I think the backs go to the All Blacks. So at halfback at scrum half, we're going Trust de Klerk against Aaron Smith.
Aaron Smith easily. Like, there's not many scrum halves I would put ahead of Aaron Smith nowadays.
Andre Pollard against DC.
DC yet again. He makes it in.
Dan Carlson. Easy.
Surely.
On one wing, Julian the Buster there against Mapimpi. I
wouldn't have expected Mapimpi to be on that list. I don't know why. That's just sort of thrown up out of nowhere. I don't know why.
Well, he was there 2019. He started with the World Cup final. But he started in 23.
It just threw me totally out. That's all.
It was Curtly Stearns and Cheslin Colby on the wings in 23. It's got to be Julian Sevilla. I think. Who was it? I don't like bringing his name up too often, but Stuart Hogg did say in an interview once that Julian Sevilla was the hardest person he's ever played against. So if he says he's the the GOAT. I'll say so. Give it to it.
I mean, Julian Sedera in 2015 was pretty nuts, right? I remember there.
He was insane.
I remember there.
Yeah, what a stride.
I remember being 12 at a primary school sports carnival, which I smashed, by the way. 100 metre, 200 metre kick. But I remember talking to a teacher about Sevilla because he just debuted against Ireland. I think his debut game was a hat trick for the All Blacks. And it was, something like that. So he set the tone very early on in his test career. Inside centre is, we're looking at Nonu against Damien de Allende.
Damien de Allende is criminally underrated, but we can't be talking about Nonu that much previously and then not putting it in. So
It's like you just the hypocrites.
I'll personally do Nonu.
Yeah, I think like de Allende, I think the 2021 Lions possibly wouldn't have been won without him. He was probably one of the players of that entire series. Like, and also again for under the radar, but Nonu for so many reasons, and many of which we've already spoken about, is absolutely the inside centre for that team.
I agree with that. I think, like you said, Nonu, top 5 player all time. I don't think you could look past him here. Outside centre, the Kanye against Conrad Smith. Now, I would suggest this should be Jesse Creel over Arn, but
I know there was a period where Kanye was just insane though. Like, I don't know.
Correct.
He literally, as soon as he didn't get picked for that 23 World Cup squad, he's just fallen off a cliff. Sadly, I would, if it's Conrad Smith versus Jesse Creel, I'd say Jesse Creel, honestly.
I mean, I just Conrad Smith every day. Sorry, like he was the most one of the most intelligent rugby players to have ever played the game, and on both sides of the ball, especially defensively. But distributing wise, he was class. But again, there's a bit of, I don't say there's bias from my point of view here, but like a lot of these All Blacks were my sporting heroes growing up. I'll be very honest. So like, a lot of these are only going to go one way.
Right. There's a 6-year-old Finn fighting inside. It's I just go. Nah, I'm sticking with Jesse Creel. I think he had moments in that 23 World Cup that really stood out. Like that kick and chase against France. General World Cup performance. He's amazing.
I'm going to say Conrad Smith because he's kind of part of that ilk of player that, we talked a little bit about, who seemingly dedicated their entire playing career to the All Blacks. Like that was everything for them. And he was one of that. And on top of that, he was a world-class player in a great backline. As Ben said, defensively, probably one of the brightest players I've seen, like, especially with that sustained sort of period at the top, like in terms of, aligning defenses, making reads, all those sorts of things. Yeah, and have to say Conrad Smith.
I mean, he's a 2-time World Cup winner as well. So like it's not like can really go wrong with any of these guys, I think. But Conrad, for me, again, he's up there with O'Driscoll in terms of outside tennis all time.
Yeah.
I think he's unreal. Very quick sidebar, I'm going to tell you guys a quick story, and we'll go on to the wing and the other winger and fullback. It was like 20. This is cars actually. It's like 2013, and Hurricanes fans. They're with my brother and dad, and one of my dad's mates was staying at the same hotel as the Hurricanes, and my dad was having a beer with his mate, and then Conrad Smith and a few of the Hurricanes boys walked through, and Ryan, my brother, makes a bet with the old man that if he could get Conrad Smith to the ground, Dad had to give him $200, give Ryan, my brother, $200. And Ryan took that deal. And obviously Dad's going, oh yeah, like he's going to go up there and try and tackle Conrad Smith. Ryan, as a 13-year-old, walks up to Conrad Smith and goes, hi Conrad, can you do me a favor? Can you sit on the ground? And he did it. And Dad ran up the run. And with Conrad on the floor, when he was standing up, he said to my brother, what's this for? And he's like, oh, I just made a bet with my old man. And I'm just absolutely outsmarted with him. And Conrad thought it was hilarious. And then like James Marshall and a few of the other boys walked over and they started cackling. They thought it was hilarious. But yes, that's how my brother stole $200 off my old man. Anyway,
What a way
Yeah.
to win $200.
And that's why Conrad Smith is the third team in this team. Anyway, on Thursday, the flip, like, Tresler Colby against Corey Jane. I mean,
Cheslin Colby. Cheslin Colby, like,
Yeah, it hasn't Colby.
has to be, I think. Like, it's Corey Jane, very, very good player. Obviously, integral to that 2011 World Cup win. Same with the Hurricanes when they won Super Rugby in 2016. Colby's again one of the greats, right? So, and then last player on these team sheets, Willie LaRue against should be Israel Dag. That's tough actually, because I think Dag's the better player, but LaRue's been doing it longer.
yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards Dag. It's tough.
I mean,
LaRue's just really efficient at the basics, and he works really, really well. Commanding the back of that field. If the 10 is in the ruck inside, Willie LaRue doesn't even hesitate. He's taking control of that game, and he's going back to the functions. I don't know, boys. I don't know. I'm gonna have to chuck it over to you guys.
I mean, that 2011 World Cup was pretty class, man. But I think LaRue, as a Centurion for the Springboks, I believe.
Yeah.
Two-time World Cup winner. I think unlikely to get to a third. I don't know if he's retired or anything. I don't think he has, but I could be wrong.
He's not officially retired, but him getting to 27 is very, very unlikely.
I mean,
He was on his last legs at 23. Not on his last legs, but God, like,
Well, he's 36. He's 36.
yeah.
Like, essentially being, when was he born? He's actually his 37th birthday next week.
I mean,
if you're looking at moments and stuff, then you go Dag. But if you're looking at just a control of the game, you go LaRue.
I'm gonna go look.
So what do you want in your team?
Yeah, I think you have to go on LaRue.
LaRue. I'm gonna say I'm gonna say Dag just so we had a 2-1 there, but LaRue gets into it. Right. Okay. What I will say, decent squad there, beautiful squad. Are there any? Obviously, there's still quite a lot of Springboks that are in this squad today that are in that squad right now. But is there any All Blacks current that could break into that squad? Are there any names that you're like, oh, they could be in a conversation?
Damien Willemser or fullback. At 10.
Are we Ardy? Are you Savannah?
Ardy's a good shout, but I don't think Ardy's making ahead of. Ardy could be there at 8, ahead of Reid and Bamiorn. Yeah, potentially.
Yeah, you sort of find yourself asking, like, kind of who of the elder statesmen could maybe make it as well. But, like, it's sort of like Beauden Barrett won a World Cup sort of at the end of a lot of those greats that we've already put in this team, and then, like, kind of, has been kind of spearheading an All Blacks team that hasn't been as successful in the years since. Barring, like, a couple of things.
Bowden's a 2-time. Well, you could put Beauden at 15 if you really wanted to.
This is what I was sort of getting at. Like, do you shoehorn him in to?
Because he's played
How good he has been.
He's good. He is good.
Played a lot of 15. But he played his best rugby at 10, the All Blacks.
Yeah.
But he was never attended. He's never attended a World Cup. Yeah. Well, should I go through the results? We're good?
Yeah. Go for the full squad.
This is a combined All Blacks and the Springboks greatest of all time, rugby's greatest rivalry team. Kids off. Marks, Franks in the front line, Retallick and Etzebeth in the second row, Peter Steph, Totoy and Richie McCaw on the flanks, with Kieran Reid at number 8, The halves, the Aaron Smith and Dan Carter. On the wings, Julian Severe and Cheslin Colby. The centres are Mar Nonu and Conrad Smith. And out the back, number 15 is Willie LaRue. The split is 9 All Blacks and 6 Springboks.
I think that's reasonable. I think that's reasonable to say right now. I think Springboks are still in this. They're in their great period right now. They're in their dominance, and it's not done yet. So I think once it's finished, I don't know when that closing point is going to be. We can then look back on it and then go, okay, there's a big debate right now, but a lot of it's just wait and see what happens. Like even if they win this tour outright, I don't think that boosts any of them up into the list at all, I'd say. Because at the same time, I think this All Black squad are going to be building for that 27 World Cup. I think a lot of these lads, like Ruben Love, Cam Roygaard, even a Fabian Holland, they're still at that age where they'll look good, but they'll look immense at the 27 World Cup. So there'll be a lot of learnings in general from this greatest rivalry from the All Blacks, and even if they lose, they won't look at it. Well, depends what the New Zealand media do. They're not the nicest sometimes, but
It's all good.
I think people will walk away. I think people will walk away generally still quite positive, even if All Blacks still come out with winning the tour.
Agreed. Yeah, I think it's but pretty keen for those tests. That should be pretty cool.